Welcome to the football show on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. I'm Peter Martin. Alan Ruff, Alison, McConnell and Tam McManus are here with me in the studio. Delighted to have your company, and don't forget, hit that subscribe button on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel and you can join the football family. And if you want additional income and lots of great stuff that you can actually take as prizes, then why not hit the subscribe button on our PLZ Premium. And Alison, myself and lots of our staff will be giving you lots of chances to enjoy some unique content and win some competitions, and here's one of them.
Subscribe to PLZ Premium today and you will be in our prize draw to win this fabulous Scott McTominay replica Napoli shirt. PLZ Premium is offering additional content from your favourite football channel. Subscribe to PLZ Premium today and you'll be in with a chance of winning this fabulous football shirt.
Thanks to Kerry for that. Okay, lots to talk about. Clock is ticking, to be perfectly honest with you, in Scottish football. Can Russell Martin survive a week ahead with no wins as Rangers manager after that 1-1 draw in Paisley yesterday? We'll be discussing Rangers in detail. Give us your thoughts. Should he stay or should he go? Simple as that. Will the Celtic Board survive the expected backlash from the supporters if they lose to Kieran Almaty and drop out of the Champions League? It's a 40 to 60 million pound roll of the dice there. And of course, everybody's wondering, will Brendan Rodgers get the calibre of player he wants to stay with Celtic till the end of the season, because he has already intimated that he's not here just to stand still as a manager with his team. Steve Clarke's named his squad for 2 vital World Cup qualifiers. We'll discuss all the runners and riders in that as well. Here's your Premiership results from the weekend. 4 games on offer for us. Celtic 3, Livingston 0, Hearts 3, Motherwell 3, Kilmarnock 0, Dundee 0, St Mirren 1, Rangers 1, Dundee United against Aberdeen, and Falkirk Hibs was postponed. The table looks like this. Incredible as it seems, Ruffy, we have a situation where Celtic are 6 points ahead of Rangers already after only 3 games.
Yeah, I don't think the Rangers supporters saw that one coming. I think they were all looking for a really fast start as far as Rangers are concerned, but they haven't been convincing at all. Obviously with the draws, they never looked like winning any of the games, so and a couple of them they could have lost. So, you know, it's a hard start for them, and obviously with the Celtic game coming up just makes it even harder.
Okay, it's the first time since Graham Souness, Alison, 36 years since they failed to win any of their first 3 league games. Obviously it changed dramatically for Graham Souness. Is it going to change dramatically for Russell Martin?
I don't know if you could point to any evidence that would give that conclusion at the minute. I think Rangers look like a team in disarray. There doesn't seem to be any clear structure about how they play, any clear identity. I thought they came into a game laterally in Paisley yesterday afternoon, but St Mirren could actually have been further ahead by the time they galvanised themselves and started to impose themselves in the game. I think St Mirren would probably have rued a couple of really good opportunities they had, thinking about the start of the second period, where they might have gone further ahead. And I just don't know that this is a Rangers team that copes with any kind of adversity. They don't seem to cope with going behind in a game. They seem to panic. You can sense the fragility, the brittleness that goes through that team, a real lack of leadership. And James Tavernier has not been without his critics across recent seasons. I actually thought Rangers were far better when he came on the pitch, came off the bench yesterday afternoon and came on. I thought he tried to direct things. I thought he did show a bit of leadership on the pitch. Rangers looked far more cohesive, a bit more aggressive when he was on, but I think there are big question marks over the direction that this team is going in, and that there is nothing that points to getting it together and getting it the way he wants to play anytime soon. And this is a massive week. You think, if you look at what's ahead this week, you've got the Club Brugge playoff tie, and then you've got Celtic, of course, at Ibrox on Sunday. And if Celtic were to come away from that one with a win, and you're 9 points behind at the beginning of September, very difficult.
Well, they did play with a false number 9 in Theodore Asgard as the game started. But as ever with managers, they've got their own thoughts on why they're doing that. And then eventually, as it started to look as if it was going against them, Russell Martin decided to make a few substitutions, and he wanted to bring on Egerman, but his striker told him that he was injured. and that he couldn't come on. That was just beyond the hour, and I think that surprised everybody. Certainly surprised the Rangers manager, Russell Martin.
Wanted to bring him on at around 60 minutes, and he said he has a sore quad, so he can't come on.
Did you know about that? Presumably.
No, he wouldn't be on the bench if he's not fit. Yeah. So he said he'd done it, warming up. Yeah, we turned down a bid this week, but we'll assess his injury, and I have to trust the Hamza.
Okay, the game's up for Hamza. He'll be off soon.
Yeah, I think it's disgraceful, to be honest, Peter. I think if a player refuses to come on, he should be out the door immediately. I think that, listen, you can maybe tweak some, but then you've got to go and say to the physio or say to the manager that you've done something in the warm-up, Peter. You know, you go and explain that you've maybe feeling something, and you can maybe put someone else on the bench. I think it's lies. I just think he's in a huff because he didn't get the move this week. He said to knock back a bid. Clearly wants to leave Rangers, and I think if you're a Rangers supporter, you're looking to get rid of him as soon as possible. If you're a Rangers manager, you're looking to get rid of him as soon as possible. And if you're a Rangers player, you don't want guys like that in your dressing room, Peter.
Well, I obviously understand your opinion. I would just jump in and say it's not necessarily lies at the moment, because he's obviously got to try and justify himself to the manager and determine whether he did indeed pick up any injury. So that's, I think, supposition on our part, and I think we've got to give him the benefit of the doubt from that.
You should have said to the physio or the manager or someone after the warm-up, Peter.
That doesn't necessarily mean that he's lied. What we have to look at and offer our opinion on is exactly what you said there, and I think you're right. You know, if you are injured, you do tell somebody, Ruffy, but we've got to give him the benefit of the doubt. To accuse him of lying is just, you can't do that until such times as you know the manager's come out and said, by the way, you know, here's the drill, this is what he said to me.
I'm just surprised he let it out in the open. You know, I thought you would have tried and kept that in-house and deal with it then, you know, giving everybody that bit of information, whether it was a ploy to take it away from the performance on the park ever. Just don't play him.
Just in the neck, Ruffy, from the press and supporters for not bringing a striker on.
Yeah, Ruffy.
But if
he had to say that.
The journalist asked him, what do you want to do? What do you do? That's what's happened there.
I think you just keep it in-house and bin him.
What,
you just deal with it and you make sure you get him out the door as quick as possible.
What do you want Russell Martin to do? Lie?
No, but they have been known managers to wiggle their way a question. Yeah, aye, come up with something. I thought he knows what he's going to do. He knows he's binned. He's never going to...
He's thrown him under the bus.
Yeah. I just think it's made him more things for him to deal with, when he could have dealt with it in-house and dealt with it internally, you know, without adding another...
You do kind of wonder what the perception is if you're trying to sell him now, and clubs now know that you need him out. What does it do to the price tag when you're going to negotiate in terms of getting the best possible price that you want for him, and people know, well, we need him out the door?
Yeah, but clearly they've knocked back a bid. I think...
Leo, I think the bid was wrong.
If you're on the bench, you're fit to play.
Yeah. That's what I mean.
He was asked that, you know, obviously.
You know, if you feel something in the warm-up, if you hit his quad, he's maybe been shooting or something, he's maybe felt a twinge or something, you go and see the physio and you say, listen, I just felt something there.
Yeah.
You can't just say, right, get yourself on, nah, I've got a sore thigh. I think that's nonsense, Peter, to be honest.
No, I mean, I agree with you. I think it is, you know, but, you know, I don't think he... listen, at the end of the day, the Rangers fans have had enough of him on that. If the manager comes out and says it, then the game's up. I think he'll be gone. I think you make a good point, which is quite simply, when there's unrest, yes, Ruffy, the manager needs it like a hole in the head, but the board need that as well, because they're now thinking to themselves, well, if we dig our heels in here, we've got to try and get the right price. Meanwhile, unhappy player, you can't keep him. Can't keep him because I think the manager's absolutely scunnered with him.
And other players too. You think, like, what's the perception amongst his contemporaries?
Well, he's not in the dressing room.
There are
a decent manager would just bin him right out of the dressing room.
Yeah, but you're in a situation right now where I think the manager is under siege, and he's got that situation where, you know, he's trying to. I think Russell Martin's trying to put out fires at times.
Yeah, that's the last thing he did, Peter. You know, they've started the season really poorly. He's under pressure. You know, to turn around and say to one of your best strikers, you know, get yourself ready. We need you. For him to turn around and say, I've got a sore thigh, it just kills him as a manager as well. And I don't blame him for saying it after the game, because if you know, I spoke to Rangers supporters yesterday, a lot of friends that are Rangers fans. Why do you not bring a Gamani on? Why do you not bring, like, in WhatsApp chats, whatever? why is Agimani no coming on? And that's why.
Yeah.
So I feel as if he was right within his rights to come out and say that, because supporters need to know that the players, what happened, he didn't want to come on. So yeah, I do feel for him. It's nothing. That's nothing to do with football. That's just, you know, a striker who's went in a huff, in my opinion, who's not got a move, who doesn't want to be at Rangers anymore, and the managers, you know, can't rely on him now.
The most famous one, I think, of a player that didn't want to come on was Tevez. I think it was against Borussia Dortmund.
Right.
But it's not. I mean, we were talking about it, you know, prior to the show. It maybe is not as. It's probably a lot more common than you think down through the years, Ruffy. Somebody saying they're not coming on, they're just in a huff.
First person I'm thinking is not saying I'm not coming on was Bobo Baldi. Bobo Baldi sat in the stand for a year because he never got his move and took the wages for a whole year.
Yeah.
Because he never got the move, and there was another centre forward.
Mark Viduka.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did the same. I think it was another one as well.
He came in at half time and said he wasn't going back out.
Yeah. It's a strange situation. I think the Rangers fans will have had enough of him. Bojan Miovski's one that's been in the background for the last couple of days, that he could be a target for them. They've started to offload as many players as they possibly can. I'll tell you, fair play, Ben Davis gone, Cifuentes and Yilmaz. So they're starting to try and save a bit of money and try and get something here to switch this around before you get to the 1st of September.
Yeah, I think he is starting to get the players out that he wants out and starting to get some players in, and the squad does look better for me, but is he going to get the time to see it out, Peter? That's the thing. You know, any other club probably gets the time. He gets a window, maybe 2 windows, but at Rangers, you're not going to get that time, Peter, and he needs to buy himself time by getting results, and he's got a big week coming up.
What did I tell you on Friday?
No, I agreed with you, Peter. I think he had to take 4 points from the next 2 games. So he's got one, so he's got, in my opinion, he's got to beat Celtic.
Yeah.
If Celtic run over the top of them, particularly Ibrox, I think he's got nowhere to go. I think he'll get sacked.
Yeah, because we all believe that Bruges will beat them.
Yeah, I don't think there's any chance of Rangers beating Bruges, to be honest.
Ali, do you buy into that?
Yeah, I think so. I think they'll struggle in Belgium. I think I was impressed. I was impressed with a lot of Bruges in the opening half, and then of course I think the second period was maybe a different story. But yeah, I fancy Bruges to go through and book their place in the Champions League, and then I think Sunday will be interesting. Celtic could be coming off the back of a huge game in Kazakhstan, also on a downer. You know, there could be pressure on both of those managers ahead of Sunday afternoon, or you could have one going in. On the contrary, you could have one going into the game having booked their place in the Champions League and thinking you can really almost go now and lay a marker down for the remainder of the campaign. Celtic could go 9 points clear in September. It's extraordinary when you look at it like that. And I think the fact he's been swimming against the current for so long, you think it was never a universally popular appointment, and he spoke about that on Friday, saying that certain people just don't like him and don't like the perception of who he is. But I think it's hard when you're coming into a club and you've not been a popular vote. I think it's really hard to go and try and promote yourself and try and prove yourself immediately. You need to hit the ground running, I think, when that happens. And when you fall so far out of a title race and it's so insipid and you're seeing the same problems game after game, I think patience is thin anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just looking at the way it's looking at the moment as far as the week's concerned. Ruffy, Tam and I have laid our opinion out there. Lost to Bruges, lost to Celtic, game over?
Not for me. I think these American owners have went in there and they've already stated, you know, this isn't a quick fix. You've got to take the pain. They've said that. I mean, obviously Russell Martin's just backing up everything they're saying. So if they're true to their word, then they won't sack him. They'll let him get it sorted. We've already discussed the amount of players that he's got to ship out the door. He's doing that. I think he should be judged on the players that he's bought in. And so far they're not doing it. So this is the kind of game they've got to produce it. I mean, Bruges will let them play. You know, the difference for St Mirren. St Mirren just bullied them all over the park, midfield. Yeah. Their 2 fullbacks get thrown about like rag dolls. So, you know, we all knew it was going to happen at St Mirren, and they just didn't stand up to it. They were awful, but I still don't think he'll get sacked.
Yeah, so after 11 games, it's onwards.
Yeah, Continue to get people out the door and bring people in.
I also don't know that he'll be sacked. I think there will be a clamour for it, and I think for us in the media and for those of us who work in this kind of environment and former players that have been in this environment, I think there'll be an expectancy that that's what's going to happen, because you know what the reality of life is like as a Rangers manager when there is a lack of success and a lack of results. But I do wonder too about the board, about a new board and new owners, and thinking, well, this reflects very poorly on us too. If we say we got this appointment wrong, we've got it wrong early, and we have to now go and change it, I wonder if they might persevere. And then it becomes a question of, well, how long can you persevere for?
Ruffy's always went on about it. What? Directors when they're at home games.
I just said that Brendan Rodgers made a great point last week.
Which is?
When the board start getting it, the manager gets sacked.
Yes.
Brendan Rodgers came out the next day and
Rangers
says,
are
when the fans start
they're getting it in the neck,
when they start attacking board members sitting in that, but they 49ers aren't sitting in a stand. They're in America. They're not sitting taking the flak.
Yeah,
they're only getting it second
And
hand.
but they're also not then, they're also missing a lot of the toxic elements that are around it and a lot of the noise that's around it.
Well, let's put it back to you then, because you tried to wiggle out of it. If, as Tam says, and we think, if Celtic are 2 or 3,
Celtic beat them 3-0 at
well, if they beat them
Ibrox.
3-0 and they're all shouting at the board.
But that owners aren't there. There'll be a board there, but it won't be the real board, the real owners of the club.
So he still
I think he will. I think we keep on saying this, we're sacking managers too early, and he comes into that category. I know it's different, he's with Rangers and it's Celtic that are drawn away and all that stuff, but as we know, the fans always get the manager sacked.
Yeah, I must admit, for all of us now, and I've noticed it in the last couple of years, Tam, on this programme, when we've all looked at each other and said, 5, 6, 7 or 8 games, managers getting sacked, it's absolutely outrageous. Even I think it's preposterous for a Rangers manager to get sacked after 11. But right now I'm looking at it and I'm saying to myself, this could happen. I think he will get sacked.
It'll be the fans. I think it's the fans' reaction. I don't think he should get sacked. If you're asking me, should he get sacked? I would say no. I think you've got to give manager time. He's got a lot of players to get out and in, but I look at the 9 points behind Celtic and getting beat at home in an Old Firm game, and the league's done in 1st of September.
Yeah, it's not acceptable.
It's not acceptable for a club the size of Rangers, and it's not acceptable to pick up 3 points in the first 12.
Imagine you had the owner of the guy at Notts Forest, where the owner actually comes down out to the park at the end and has a word with him.
I have to say, listen, that will become more commonplace, because when you get people who've got the big bucks, and Ted Bowie went into the Chelsea dressing room, so these chairmen and owners, they will easily, on many an occasion, it's not unique to just to world football in Scotland, that has happened. I know board members who have gone into to dressing rooms and phoned and told the manager, get that player off, so it's not unusual. But can I just say something, and I apologise to every St Mirren fan out there, because we did actually tip St Mirren to get at least a draw. I think you did as well.
We all did. One each.
We all went for one each, and I think great credit, because when you have Celtic or Rangers in any time of consternation, anger, then you get to a situation where you forget about the team that was playing, and boy, they deserve credit, Alison, Mirren, because I watched them the week before and I thought they were good to watch.
Yeah, I think he's raised the bar considerably at St Mirren. The top 6 finishes for the last 3 successive seasons. I think there's an expectancy there. Also, I think as a dressing room as a whole, when you've had success against Celtic and Rangers, and I don't think St Mirren lost any of the top 6 last season. I think when you can point to proof of what you're doing is working, I just think it gives you a bit of confidence going into games. Rangers hadn't won in Paisley last season. They lost on Boxing Day and then they drew towards the end of the season. So that's 3 games that Rangers haven't won. Their last 3 visits to Paisley where they've not won. I think that gives you a certain kind of confidence in how you're going to approach the game and how you're going to set up. But I thought they were excellent. I thought for an hour they were very, very good, and I think they could have been further ahead. I think Rangers came in strongly. They came back into the last half an hour. I thought they might have nicked it. They might have just done enough to go and got all 3 points, which I think would have been desperately harsh on St Mirren. But I think they'll be delighted with just the way that they're picking up where they've left off. If you look at Stephen Robinson's budget, the way he can organise a team and set a team up, if he was in the Rangers dugout just now, do you think he would get a tune out of him?
Yeah, I do actually, because I think I think there's something about Stephen Robinson I really like, and he's just highlighted after the game, the difference in the budgets.
They showed a large amount of quality. You have to remember, there's a team on the verge of the Champions League. All the noise around Rangers, they've spent millions of pounds still. And we're boys and kids that are in free transfers and trying to make their way in the game, or older players who have been absolute rocks for me. So I'm really, really proud of them. And maybe previously everyone goes away and says that's great. There's more. I believe there's more, especially with the second half performance.
They deserve great credit. I mean, if you're looking for certain key elements in a team that can unnerve a Rangers or a Celtic, you've got to have good performance from the goalkeeper, strong back line, tight to the midfield, somebody like Gogic, who absolutely throws himself in front of everything, picked up his customary yellow card yesterday as well. But then you've got to have up front two guys who can quite simply ragdoll the best of them. And I thought Mandron and Ayunga were just a handful for them.
Yeah, they're so difficult to play against. They're so aggressive, Peter. They're on the front foot. They put teams under pressure. Their fans are really aggressive. You can hear every shout. I don't know, that one guy next to the cameras, you can hear him every game shouting at the players, the referee. So it's quite an intimidating place to go because they're physical, but they can play as well.
Yeah.
I think you've seen it at times in the first half particularly. They got the ball down the sides, they played some nice football and cut Rangers open. So they've got a bit of everything. You're right, they've got a really strong spine in the team. The three in the middle of the park are good. Gogic, the goalkeeper, and then the two strikers.
Yeah.
Put you under pressure. So yeah, I thought first half they were well on top. I thought Rangers finished the game stronger and maybe could have nicked it towards the end, but a draw's probably a fair result. And as Alison was saying there, Stephen Robinson, highly underrated for me. Built a team with buttons and continues to punch above his weight.
Yeah, absolutely. Deserves great credit. And of course, let's not forget, I was picking a team of the week. Killian Phillips could easily have been in there again. He's just... he's
a handful.
Yeah, he's a wee bit of class in the middle of the park as well. And of course, he does something which I love in a midfielder, Tam. He actually goes forward and he shoots. If he gets something, in his range about 20-25 yards out, he has a go. Listen, great credit to St Mirren. What do you think for Rangers? Give us your thoughts on it. Does the manager survive 2 defeats to come from Bruges and Celtic? Should he be allowed the time? Ruffy thinks the board might give him the time, unless, of course, there's huge fan unrest towards the board. We're going to talk about that a little later on as well. Apologies for people who download the podcast because you won't see the difference in the clobber that Ruffy and Tam are wearing, because Ruffy looked as if he was ready to go on a yacht and compete in the America's Cup on Friday, Ali. But today it's the guy who committed 3 murders in Miami Vice, who's now running from the police. What about the clobber you've got on?
It's a nice day, isn't it?
Yeah, and new trainers as well. Things are looking up.
Fresh. Yeah,
there must have been a van going round Eastcote Bride. There you are, 2 for a
Somebody came into the pub yesterday. We knocked off gear. Here we are.
Brilliant.
Went full safari mode.
Absolutely. I'd have given them the shirt back, but the trainers are all right. Anyway, we'll move on. Celtic 3, Livingston 0, and a double from Negrin and one from Johnny Kenny. Some really good performances there. Negrin, you've got to listen. If you're going to offer balance, Ruffy, this boy was value for money on the early evidence.
Yeah, and as I was saying to Tam before, obviously we 3 of us had a personal bet on the prediction, if you don't remember that.
Yes,
we do. And you said 2-1.
The bet, but what is the bet?
You had 2-1, 2-1. I said it'd be 3-0. Very comfortable 3-0.
Yes.
But when half an hour before the game, when I saw the Celtic team, I panicked. I thought it was going to happen, but obviously did happen.
8 changes.
Yeah, 8 changes. When I saw the team, I went, this just shows you strength and depth. That is there for everybody to see. But to go back to the boy that you're talking about, breath of fresh air, he picks the ball up in wide areas, does a couple of 1-2s, moses on into the 18-yard box, nobody picks him up, he just has a knack of being in the right place at the right time. And of all the signings and the money that Celtic have laid out, he looks a pinch.
Yeah, and young Dane Murray, I mean, he's signed a new deal, but to come in there, you know, because as ever, you know, sometimes because there's always noise around Celtic or Rangers, there's certainly a lot of noise around both of them, but to come in there and be a steady Eddie, I think it'll do him the world of good.
I thought he played well. I thought he tired as the game went on. Inevitably, it's obviously, you know, a different step up when you're going straight into the first team. But I think Celtic fans would love to see players like that come through and get their opportunity. Like, you're developing your own players rather than maybe taking a player in and loan and developing for someone else. I think as the season goes on, he's one that I think you might see a bit more of. Put it this way, I don't think he'd done his chances any harm at all.
Yeah, some of the old guard were always going to come on in the second half time, but all roads lead to a 7,000-mile round trip, but they're on their way there. I think they'll be there already.
Yeah, they flew out yesterday.
Kazakhstan for the game against Kieran Almaty.
Yeah, and listen, I think a lot of Celtic supporters would have looked at the Celtic team that they put out and thought, could maybe drop points here, but as Ruffy says, the strength and depth that Celtic's got is incredible. The same against Falkirk in the League Cup, with a lot of changes, guys come in, so listen, I think they've got quite a deep squad, Celtic. I think there's areas they need to improve on when they come up against better quality, but you know, in terms of Livingston and Falkirk, teams like that, no disrespect, they can afford to rotate the squad, so listen, it could be a massive week for Brendan Rodgers, it really could. I mean, they're top of the league, they've not conceded a goal, they could be in the Champions League and they could beat Rangers at Ibrox, or they could get knocked out and then Rangers could beat them at Ibrox and then all of a sudden it's a crisis, so it's a massive week for both Celtic and Rangers and both managers, I think.
Yeah, it's one of those weeks where, from our point of view, we are actually rubbing our hands thinking this can't get any better, because if you're looking for...
Someone's got to give.
Oh, so absolutely, but the Scottish football that just keeps on giving, Ali. This is what Brendan Rodgers said, obviously, with that week in mind. It's winner takes all now, and everything is there for us to do it. They're a good side, they're organised, and it's always tough in European football to go away from home. We know we need the result, and we're going to give it absolutely everything to get the result and be at the top table in the Champions League. We want to start well on the night, and I think we can emphasise that. It's very important. The difference now in this second leg is it's winner takes all. Yes, he set it up absolutely brilliantly. It is indeed winner takes all, and there is so much.
Brendan really loses these games, Peter. If you look at it domestically, the winner takes all in the big games. Brendan Rodgers at Celtic has been imperious, apart from obviously the Aberdeen game.
Well, I'm going to stick my neck out here. I think they'll beat Kieran Almaty.
I do as well, Peter. I think it's a totally different thing.
I think they should. I think they will. I think they should. I don't think they can play as poorly as they did at Celtic Park. I thought it was a dreadful performance. It was incredibly turgid.
Did they underestimate them though? Kieran Almaty can't certainly think that.
I don't know if it was underestimating, but certainly it was limp, it was poor, it was passive. There was an absence of any of the energy, verve and purpose that we'd associate with Celtic, particularly at home. I certainly, if they did underestimate them, I shouldn't think they would fall for that twice. I think they know now what's at stake, they know what they've got to do, and I think you just have to focus on getting the win at any cost. It doesn't matter how ugly it is or how you get there. It's, as he says, it's winner takes all, and there's an incredible bounty at stake now for who takes it.
And the great thing about it, Ruffy, which you're not privy to, Tam is certainly not privy to, is that Ali and myself in the office had a right good ding-dong today. We've had...
Usual Monday?
Yes. It was one of those ones where we just hell for leather, going at each other. You know, one of those ones where you come into the house and you can sense there's a tension in the house and you just think, I better get this argument over with quickly.
Are you going to tell us what it was about?
Well, we're just about to tell you, because quite simply... I think Celtic will beat Kieran Almaty. I think, you know, looking at Rangers, I can't see them coming away from Ibrox with anything less than a draw. And I think they'll be ahead in the Champions League, and that will fend off what I think is huge unrest on the way if they lose to Kieran Almaty. And here's a banner that the Celtic fans held up at the time, and Ali and I were having a an argument about the zero ambition, neglect team, and instead of world class, it's a basic board. I think the Celtic fans, and it's not just the North Curve or the Green Brigade, there's a lot of Celtic fans are looking and saying, we give the club a lot of money. We expect, players in of a certain standard, not multi-million pounds, but you expect them in instead of this relentless taking it down to the wire every year that they've come to experience. And this one is a roll of the dice that I think a lot of Celtic fans will look and say, listen, the board will get the anger. Now, that's my point on it. If they lose to Kieran Almaty, I think a lot of Celtic fans will really start to show their anger towards the board because of the huge amounts of money they've got in the bank and the money that they've squandered on this opportunity to go even further ahead. What's your take on it first, Ruffy?
Yeah, I think the fans have got every right. That a club like Celtic shouldn't be taking this long to bring in reinforcements. They've had a long time to do it. The board have had a long time to do it. I would expect that Brendan Rodgers away 3 months ago has given them a list of paper with an amount of players that are in it, whether it's a defender, a midfielder or a striker, and said to the director of football, there's my list, go and get them. I expect you're not going to get them all, but I would like some. And the ones that have come in haven't been up to, apart from the boy we're talking about, haven't been up to the expectations of what Brendan Rodgers and the supporters expect.
Okay, that's your opinion on it. Before you give us yours, Tam, I think it's only right and proper that Ali and I were having a debate. I say the board will get it in the neck. You think Brendan Rodgers and the squad he has, you think the manager has to...
I agree with you. I think the board will. They've already had it in the neck. It was toxic last Wednesday night at Celtic Park, and that'll only increase and get worse. There's a simmering discontent and disconnect between the board and Celtic fans. It goes way back to just this transfer window or this summer. It's historic, and there are historic grievances, and they have bubbled under the surface. I would say since the COVID season, probably even further back. So it's nothing new. I think you cannot argue anything other than that the window has been ponderous, slow, unimaginative and should be better from Celtic. I think that's inarguable. Right. I think everyone would accept that. However, I also think when you looked at last Wednesday night, that Almaty team spent £280,000, 280 grand on transfers across 2 seasons. In comparison, that Celtic team and that Celtic board spent £46 million across the same 2 seasons. Celtic should have had enough to go and beat that team and beat them comfortably. Now, I'm not saying that the transfer window has been good. I think the structure is wrong. I think it's quite clear that there's a problem with leaving transfers to the last minute. But I thought the reaction was disproportionate. I think coming out and shouting to sack the board, a board that has delivered. The bar has now been set at Celtic that if you don't win a treble, it's a poor season. That if you don't win a treble, there's an expectancy that they dominate everything all the time. Up until 2000, this was a Celtic team that had won 3 trebles in their history. They have enjoyed a period of unparalleled domestic success since the turn of this millennium. Now, if you're going to lay blame to the board for the misgivings and wrongdoings and not getting into the Champions League, the flip side of that is you have to give them credit for the things that they have done right in terms of the trophies that have been delivered. So I think that performance last Wednesday was poor. I think there was an element of deflection in it too. I think when Brendan Rodgers comes out and he's saying, I'm not getting the players I want and I can't see any more of it, you can understand his frustration. But equally, I think there has to be a level of accountability about that performance.
So the manager's got to take it in the neck?
I think he's got to take an element of criticism for it, yeah.
Okay, Tam?
Alison's hit the nail on the head, Peter. I can't really disagree with anything that she said there. I think that Celtic should have enough to win this tie over 2 legs. It's as simple as that with the squad they've got. I get they want better quality players in, and they might get that after the window, before the window closes. But in terms of this time,
out of order for the criticism.
No, I don't, Peter. I think they've both got to take equal blame. I think the board could be helping the manager more and bringing better players in. But in terms of this tie, Celtic should have more than enough to go and win this tie, and the board would be looking at that and going, as Alison said, this is a team that's on a par with kind of teams in Ireland and stuff like that in terms of ranking in Europe. So we've got plenty. We should be going beating them. It's nothing to do with a squad. So I thought Alison summed it up perfectly, to be honest with you. I can't really add more to that.
Yeah, my disagreement with Alison on this, and I think from a lot of Celtic supporters' point is, and I stand by it, is I think since 2003 they've lacked ambition. I think they've just done enough with a very, very weak Rangers that, you know, comes out of liquidation, and they've just looked and said, right, we just do enough, and then they've put out a narrative which is quite simply, we can't compete with them. I don't think a Celtic fan that I've spoken to in the last, 5-10 years wants Celtic to spend the way they did, you know, with the Henrik Larsson, the Neil Lennon, the Chris Sutton. I think they're looking for players in at the right time and back the manager to a degree where he's happy that he's got players to take you to maybe a playoff. I thought the manager was let down before Bayern Munich. I thought he was let down with a striker that he should have had a replacement for. I thought their performance in the Allianz was absolutely fantastic. I just thought it was absolutely fantastic, and I thought he fulfilled his remit. And I thought the least he deserved was to get players in early, or at least one or two, with the caveat that, by the way, if you want that other special player, he might take a bit of negotiating to the end of the window. But it hasn't materialised, and it's not as if it's a unique situation, Ruffy. This is the same style that goes on every year since 2003, 2004. They wait and they wait and they wait and they roll the dice. And
Celtic had to change it after 2003. They had to. Celtic had to change.
But I've already highlighted
made a loss that season.
The Albies, the Baldies. I've already highlighted that aspect of it, and we've already discussed on Friday. Dermot calls the shots. Peter put the blueprint in, and the rest of the foot soldiers just operate on that blueprint.
Well, if that is the way that they operate and it goes pear-shaped, then they obviously have to take the blame. If they think that the team they've got is good enough to beat everybody else, so we won't spend any more money, you know, then they should get the brunt of it. And I think that's what Brendan Rodgers is trying to say. You know, I've given them what I want, and it's not coming through the door. I think one of the biggest failings in the plus side is the money they've made, the board. On the signings they brought in, the 25 million, the 20 million, the 15 million, you know, that's an awful lot of money.
Do you not think the board would be second guessing Brendan Rodgers now in terms of the three big players that he brought in? Trusty.
Well, that's what I said. That's what I said on Friday.
I want this striker £8 million, they're going to go.
Yeah, that's what I said.
It's not great in the last year.
I said on Friday, if somebody doesn't come out and say something, that's what's going to happen, and that is what's going to happen. And now the supporters are saying, well, maybe they don't trust him.
I also wonder
you don't tell
just how much of an influence the whole contract situation has on this window. When you have a manager who's going into the final, he's going into the final season of his contract, there is nothing that would point to the fact that he will remain beyond that tenure.
I agree with you, Ali, but the club is always bigger than the individual.
Of course they are.
And the club has to show the ambition with the supporters who are paying their money. They want Champions League football. And at the end of the day, if they don't get it, I am basically saying to you, the fans will show their anger to it. It may be preposterous on the basis that they'll be so far ahead in the league and they could go to Ibrox and win, but this is what's going to happen if they don't get Champions League, because Brendan has come out and he's made it this standoff again. I wanted the players, you haven't given me them. I wanted the 2 or 3. I'm not here to manage a team to stand still. I'm here to take them forward. So he's already created that imbalance among the supporters. Absolutely, but the club have got to always be, the club will be there long after Brendan Rodgers, and they have to look and say to themselves also, by the way, okay, he could be leaving, but let's not shoot ourselves in the foot. Let's look and say Champions League is there for the taking. Whether they got a lucky draw in last season's competition, the new format, or not, the Celtic fans have put their money in there and they're looking and they're saying, wait a minute, this board's got about 100 million in the bank and they've got a chance to put in another 40 or 60 million. Spend some money. Don't spend tens of millions and put somebody on 60, 70,000 pounds a week, but spend some money, give the manager something.
I agree with you to an extent, but also, so if Celtic qualify on Wednesday night and they make it into the Champions League and they go to Ibrox on Sunday and they win, and on Sunday night Celtic are sitting 9 points clear at the top of the league and in the Champions League. Is everybody going to go and say, keep the board? Are we all going to have keep the board t-shirts?
They won't. What I'm saying
they
is,
won't at all. There'll be no credit for that. And then of course you could have 2-3 players come in maybe towards the end of this week, prior to the end of the window, big, perhaps fairly high profile players of the ilk of which you speak. So what does that do then? If you tick those 3 boxes before Monday night, then what is it, a round of applause?
well, no. What happens is the manager takes credit for beating Almaty and his players, but that's the nature of the game. I said to you, if they come out of this and they qualify for the Champions League and they beat Rangers, the fans just shut up again and they have to they go on. So it's an interesting one. We have to wait because obviously, we're all hypothetically saying if this could happen, if that could happen. We'll wait and see.
I have to say on Wednesday night, I wasn't at the game. I saw bits of it on TV, but on Wednesday night when the camera panned to Paul McStay and there are chants of sack the board, I just thought I would love to know how he felt in that moment and what he thought. This is a guy who won Paul McStay won 7 major trophies for Celtic across a 15, 17 year tenure at Celtic. A guy who turned down clubs to stay at Celtic when they were in the kind of state that they were in, and you think he's sitting in there singing sack the board. They're a penalty kick away from winning a treble last season.
They've won 14 in the last 15.
And they've won
13 of the last 14.
13 of the last 14 titles, and you think, what must he have made of that entire scenario?
Well, I'll tell you what he did. He got out of Parkhead. Someone said they saw him get into a DeLorean, and he said, "Take me out of 1994, get me out of here."
But that's the thing; it's not 1994.
Exactly.
It's not.
Well, listen, that's the nature of football. That's Celtic and Rangers. Give us your thoughts, Celtic fans. Do you agree? Do you disagree? We'd love to hear from you on it. It's a big, big week for the two of them. My God, we're talking about a situation where Celtic, as Ali mentioned there, 6 points clear, and unrest among Celtic supporters when it should all be rosy in the garden? Should some of the Celtic fans just shut up, let it all unfold and get on with it? Who's going to get it in the neck? If indeed anything disastrous happens against Kieran Almaty, do you think they're going to beat them? What about Rangers? I don't think anybody expects them to beat Bruges unless you're a Rangers fan who thinks they will and then beat Celtic, and then the whole thing changes again as Russell Martin tries to get himself a bit of time. Give us your thoughts on that. Listen, Ruffy, I am amazingly, as we have our ding-dong and we have our opinions on this, I am now going to switch my attention and say to you, I witnessed the best football I've seen from a club out with Celtic in the Allianz Arena. The best football I've seen for 62 minutes as I'm sitting in the press box at Tynecastle watching Motherwell absolutely hand hearts a footballing lesson. They were sensational. I mean, it was outrageous. At one point I'm thinking, this is unbelievable the way they're playing. They were playing it along the 6-yard box. They were playing it out. They were playing triangles. They were absolutely bossing it. 1-0 up, could have been 2 or 3. Go into the second half, 62 minutes. I looked at the clock and I thought, it's 3-0 to Motherwell. Their fans are going absolutely mental. The Hearts fans are heading for the exit. Some of them are booing. And I'm looking at Derek McInnes and I'm thinking, what must he be thinking? This Motherwell side are magnificent.
Yeah, I think the first 45 minutes, I don't think anybody saw that coming that walked into the stadium at the beginning of the game. You know, sometime in football these things happen, but you take it on board. Yeah, Motherwell were superb, but I think their manager at the end of the game would be a wee bit disappointed the way it panned out. You would have think 3-0, you know, you're winning, 20 minutes to go, 25, you'd be able to see that game out, but obviously didn't. But both teams made it a game to watch. You know, there were end-to-end stuff, terrific goals, terrific saves at particular times. So yeah, it must have been good to see it.
I mean, the back line, Tam, playing it out from the back. I mean, O'Donnell played really well. Lungello, the boy in the left back position, again bombing up and down, comfortable on the ball, and then the 3 midfielders. I mean, at one point, I could hear the Hamlet cigar theme for those of a certain generation because they were absolutely coasting round at the Hearts midfield.
Yeah, they were. I think you've seen a little bit of that at the start of the season in the League Cup games. I watched them a couple of times. They had no cutting edge, but they played a lot of good football. And then against Rangers, I thought they played a lot of good football as well, and unlucky not to win that game. So I think slowly but surely they are improving. And as I said, the first hour, it's the best I've seen a Motherwell team play in a long time. A long time. You know, I just watched the highlights and I'm thinking, well, how did they draw the game 3 each? And they could have lost the game at the end. There's a great save of the goalkeeper onto the post. So, listen, it was a wonderful game of football to watch. Hearts will be delighted with a draw to come back and get that. But I think if you're a Motherwell fan, you're quite excited about what you're seeing. And, you know, if they can just tighten up a little bit at the back, and then they can have a really, really good season. So, no, I was really, really impressed with Motherwell. I thought they were outstanding.
Yeah, and by the way, on the flip side of that, we'll hear from both managers, Ali, but on the flip side of that, the reason why I've got a lot of time for Derek McInnes is, yet again, as he showed up at Tannadice, he's 3-0 down and he's thinking, I've got to change this. I've got to somehow change the dominance that they are showing. And as Motherwell made changes, he brought on Braga and suddenly Slattery, and then not Slattery, the boy you got from Thistle.
Harry Milne.
And Harry Milne made a difference. Spittle. And suddenly it started to change again, and he changed it, and Braga came on, added that little bit of quality, and he manages to get 3-3 out of it, and as Tam mentioned, he could have won it.
I really like Braga. Every time I've seen him, I did wonder why he hadn't started with him. I thought, as I say, every time I've seen him this season, a couple of times, I've been really impressed with him. But I think you're right. I think it's a game that really could have got away from them. It looked as though it had got away from them. I just wonder if you were twitching to tweet something when they were 3-0 down.
So glad I didn't. My finger was on the buzzer at 3-0, and I'm just about to start tightening, and I just seen 3-1 and I went, delete.
It's funny. It's funny you say that, because there's a strange thing at Tynecastle. As you well know, I've fallen foul of it myself. But there's a strange thing, Ruffy. As soon as Harry Milne hit the ball and got the goal back, the whole place just went.
Yeah.
You could sense that they thought something's on here. And then by the time Braga, you know, there was a long wait in the VAR, but the time he gets the goal, you're thinking, this game's back on it's on a knife edge again.
Well, the substitution made it for Hearts because the fans love him. You know, once they got the first goal, as you say, the place erupted, then they get the next one, and you could see they weren't going to lose that game after he came on, because he had so much energy, and Motherwell's defensing was a bit iffy. The goalkeeping palming things into the area where you don't want to be panning. Just to get back to that St Mirren game, what a breath of fresh air was that St Mirren goalkeeper actually catching shots. Did you see him? A couple of shots, he held on to them. None of this panning them out the road into the danger area. I thought it was good. See your team? St Mirren goalie.
Hang fire, it's coming, hang fire. Okay, this is what Derek McInnes and Jens Berthel asked you had to say.
I think it's very clear that we are getting better every week, and that everyone is progressing, both the players who've been here all along, but also the new ones coming in, doing their very best to get up to speed as fast as possible. So we'll make a status when the season is over, and then we'll see how far we've come.
I'm still finding out about my team. They need to find out about me as well as we go along. But you know, while we're still trying to get that, the spirit they showed, the togetherness, the fight, the tenacity, just to get something for that game. And sometimes points. I've been here long enough in Scotland where very few Hearts teams get applauded off like that for a point, but they earned that applause.
He's right there. They battled back, and I thought they deserved great credit for it. Great game. You know, I've been lucky, Ruffy, this season. I've been on my travels in the car because obviously the terms of Ali's contract is she gets to pick whatever game she wants to go to. But I've been on my travels and I've seen some brilliant games, Ali. I've been really lucky.
Quite a lot of extra times as well.
Yeah, I know, that's another pain in the back end. Extra time. I want to go straight to penalties, Ruffy, and get down the road. Actually, you never forget us, and he'll forgive me for saying it right. But Robert Thompson, you know, he's a journalist, he's a great lad. And he came into the press room yesterday and Saturday, and I said, you know what? I said, I loved that game. I said, it was absolutely brilliant. I didn't want it to end. And Robert, using true journalistic fashion, he said, calm down, we've all got to get to our homes, you know. don't go over the top on it, you know. But it was absolutely fabulous and great. Listen, to make a great game, you need two teams going in at hammer and tong. To make a game that people want to forget. You don't get any goals, and it ends 0-0. Against Dundee.
I watched the highlights and I fell asleep.
Yeah.
And I woke up and unfortunately the highlights were still on. It was horrendous.
Yes.
It was absolutely horrendous.
Bruce Anderson missed an absolute peach of it.
Oh, a header.
He's got to score. You know, and Wesley's goal ruled offside just, but I'll tell you one thing though. This is how it's difficult to touch on who's going to get relegated.
Dundee battling away now.
Dundee are battling away, and I mentioned to you that he has them organised, so he just needs to work out
a wee
if
bit
he
of
can get the 4 or 5
creativity
players.
but,
You know?
I think he's done very well to survive a very tough start to his tenure. Again, when we speak about appointments that weren't universally popular, I don't think Stephen Presley was a particularly popular appointment at Dens Park, but I think he's slowly just finding his feet.
Big game at the weekend.
Oh, the derby.
Yeah, it's going to be magic.
One for him.
Here's Stuart Kettlewell and Stephen Presley.
I can't criticise the players. I'm not criticising them. We take ownership for not getting the goal together, whether that be for a set play, whether that be from open play, and then very simply you take the positives of continuing in the unbeaten run, continuing with a clean sheet, etc, etc. But we wanted and we felt we probably deserved a little bit more.
We have so much work, and the big buzzword in our club is develop. We need to develop these players. We can't go out and buy players. We have to develop players. We have to improve players. But this group want to improve, so I'm very grateful to that.
Yeah, we can't go out and buy players. I wonder if he's been told something, but he needs players. He needs another 3 or 4, according to him.
It's a wee bit of experience, Peter. You know, he signed another boy during the week at 21. He's got a lot of very, very young team, and I think if they get a couple of experienced players, I think they might be okay this season. But they've got a huge game at the weekend in the derby.
Okay, Ruffy, you can be hypercritical of me. You want Shamal George to be in it because he holds things. If I'm going to be critical of my own selection of the team because I was slightly biased towards Motherwell on this occasion, I hold my hands up. There's probably one maybe change that I would make to even the team of the week that I've selected if you want to have a look at it. At McCracken because it's 0-0 and he's made a couple of really good saves. I've played a 3-4-3, Ruffy, and I've got Stephen O'Donnell, I've got Longello, and in the middle I've got Dane Murray because it's always difficult to play in front of 60,000 and get pass marks. Nygren's in there, and I've gone for Watt, I've gone for Just, who is Eli Just is a player. I can't wait for you to see him, Ruffy, the Motherwell boy in midfield. And I've also gone for Fadinger of Motherwell. I could possibly have put Killian Phillips in place of Fadinger, if I'm honest with you, but I'm open to criticism. And then Braga, Ayunga and Mandron. What do you make of it?
Yeah, I think you're right. I'll dispute the goalkeeping one, obviously. I thought the save the boy had at Parkhead was world class prior.
Yeah, I thought that was excellent.
That was a world class save.
Yeah.
And
what about the save at Paisley?
Yeah, when he scooped it away.
Asgard was going to put it in the net.
No, that was a good save as well. But the one at Parkhead,
did a good save as well.
Second week in the trot. I mean, let's get honest about it. Has that ever happened on this programme, Ruffy?
Unconscious bias.
2 weeks.
Is it just 11 or do you do subs? I can't see if Egerman's on that.
There's no.
I don't know.
You don't even want to be in the team.
He's on the bench.
By the way, Ruffy can do that gag because he's not on Twitter. That's exactly it. But nevertheless, 2 weeks in the trot, by the way, you can't have a Rangers player in it. That's a sad indictment of the team at the moment.
A lot of Motherwell players in there, fair play.
Yeah. Oh, listen, they were my.
They were.
You get a chance.
For now, they were very good.
See if you get a chance, Tamara. Go and watch them. I mean, I'm really looking forward to it. If that's them at the moment and they can get better, because see when the players come in, they were all buying into him. They said he's clear, he's concise. We went to the Netherlands, we knew exactly what he wanted from us, and we're not bored when we're listening to him. And I thought to myself, well, fair play to you, because I actually was going to Tynecastle thinking Hearts will win, and this is what I call Ange mad football in their own 6-yard area. But boy, Ali, they played out of it. They would take balls in tight areas and be able to play it out, which is...
You raised an interesting point there when you say the players all bought into it and they all knew what they needed to do very quickly. His appointment and his timing of coming in would be very similar to that of Russell Martin. If you think he said, I know the pressures are different, scrutinies are different, he didn't need to make the same kind of wholesale changes, but you can see that he's implemented a style very, very quickly.
Clear, you can see what he's trying to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, glowing praise for Motherwell. Great game, brilliant fight back from Hearts. They deserve praise as well. Give us your thoughts on that. Give us your thoughts on the team of the week. There might be something you disagree with, but that's the joy of this programme. You'll get opinions. You'll get a good ding-dong battle, and you're going to get one on Wednesday and Friday. I think it'll be like a Tom and Jerry. She scalps me with a frying pan, and I hit her with a baseball bat.
One of there.
Eh?
Alex.
Kerry was out at Hampden today because Steve Clarke has got 2 massive World Cup qualifiers coming up.
Afternoon from a very sunny Hampden Park here today, where Steve Clarke has named his Scotland squad for the upcoming games against Denmark and Belarus in these World Cup qualifiers. Steve Clarke spoke earlier this week about the pressures he feels to get Scotland to its first major World Cup tournament since France 1998, but it's something that the Scotland boss certainly thrives upon.
I think that's what you live on, and you live on pressure in this game. If you don't thrive on the pressure, you're probably better hanging up your boots, or in my case, my whistle and my stopwatch.
Hibs striker Kieran Bowie has been selected to join Steve Clarke's Scotland squad throughout this upcoming campaign. He has certainly caught the eye of most since making that move to Hibernian, and Clarke admitted that Bowie has always been on his mind.
Yeah, Kieran came onto my radar when I was watching the under-21 games. At the time, Ben Doak was the one that was getting the big mentions, but Kieran caught my eye a few times playing with the 21s. I've kept an eye on him since. Obviously, he's got his move to Hibs, picked up a serious injury, missed a lot of last season, but finished the season quite well. Came into the camp in the summer. I was impressed with him in camp. Watched him a few times at the start of this season, and he's done very well.
Yeah, absolutely. We're all looking forward to seeing Kieran Bowie maybe getting goals. Tam, here's the squad in its entirety: Zander Clarke, Angus Gunn, Liam Kelly, defenders Grant Hanley, Jack Henry, Aaron Hickey, Dom Hyam, Max Johnson, Scott McKenna, Anthony Ralston, Andy Robertson, John Suter, Kieran Tierney, and the midfielders: Ryan Christie, Lewis Ferguson, Ben Doak, Billy Gilmore, John McGinn, Kenny McLean, Scott McTominay, Lennon Miller, and then the forwards: Che Adams, Kieran Bowie, Lyndon Dykes, and George Hirst. I didn't know Ben Doak's name in the middle was Gannon. I think we're giving him his full title there.
Yeah, I think that's what he wants to be known as going forward. I think that's his.
Formerly known as Ben Doak.
Yeah.
I think that's his mum's. I think he's taken both parents' names. I think he felt it was important.
Thanks for that, Ali. I definitely did not know that. Listen, he could add in middle names, you name it, Ruffy. If he does the business for us, we'll be delighted.
Yeah, we need somebody who's going to score goals. We saw what the others offer. Lyndon Dykes bullies defenders, not a big goal scorer. Che Adams again puts in a power of work. So we need somebody in that 18-yard box to stick a winner away. It's going to be a hard start if it's Denmark first. So yeah, let's hope we can get there.
I think Bowie will start.
I hope he does.
I think when I look at that list of forwards, I think he could be a star man.
Yeah, I hope he does.
I would hope he does. I don't think he will.
No, you know why?
Yes.
You know why?
I think Steve Clarke's very loyal to the players.
Because we've been to Germany, where he was ever so cautious, wasn't he? I mean, it was just painful.
But he'll stick to his tried and trusted.
Yeah.
You know, if you look at that squad there, you could practically say 9 out of 11 that they'll start with. I think he's going to throw any surprises.
Okay. Listen, Scott McTominay did well at the weekend again. He just keeps
Picks
going.
up where he left off last season, Peter, and yeah, I mean him and De Bruyne, they'll be exciting to watch they two.
How good is that? Yeah, that's incredible, isn't it? Listen, if you have been subscribing to PLZ Premium, then we're going to announce the winner of our Scott McTominay replica top, the Napoli one. We'll be handing that out. Then we've got lots of prizes I'll be sending out to people who have subscribed. So thank you to so many of you who are joining us in the football family for the additional content, one-to-ones, prizes, competitions, giveaways. It's all there on PLZ Premium. We hope you're going to just subscribe on the main channel. And of course, the other good thing is there's Monday to Friday the football show, which is absolutely free and will remain so. Hopefully you're enjoying your content and your opinion as well. And every now and then, depending on if you're watching it on our YouTube channel and picking it up on social media, you get to see, Ali, quite a strange bit of fashion from these two. They come in every week. If they're not if they're not golfing, you know, they're just swanning about with their shorts on.
I'm glad they're put black on. It's absolutely sauna in here.
It is hot.
This will be it.
Yeah?
This is the last summer day.
You think so?
There'll be anoraks.
It's only August. You've still got.
Yeah, he was gone. It's been raining.
No.
Been raining
The rest of the year?
No, for a month anyway.
No.
Okay, so
You still get.
This is it.
This is the last time the carrier pigeon legs are going to be out.
This is it. Yeah.
That's absolutely fantastic, brilliant. Anyway, yours especially. I didn't think, you know, Popeye the Sailor Man was going to be beaten, but you've absolutely, you've blown him right out of the water with that look that you've got there. If Haircut 100 make a comeback, Ali, I
I'm
think.
getting a haircut on Thursday, by the way.
Are you?
Oh, is it
Going
new?
for Bond villain again?
No, I'm going to get it shaved in at the sides and that. I'm getting a bit fed up with it. It's getting a bit grey and I'm getting...
For a young team
The
haircut.
kids at Braidhurst are saying I've got grey hair and all that now, so I'm getting a bit self-conscious.
Wow, that is fantastic. If you want
I might just go for a 0 all over.
Oh, listen, if you want to watch Trainspotting, the first one, that's Johnny Lee Miller, the aggressive one. That'll be him running down the back streets of Edinburgh. It's aggressive, Robbie, to say the least.
Big booty man, right?
Norman look.
Yeah?
Norman Conquest look. It's on the telly, they know, you know, watched it.
No, Ruffy, it's only people who play bowls who watch the Norman Conquest documentary. Anyway, on that note, don't miss it this week. Ali and myself are going to be on full tilt on this one because Scottish football, it's just giving every day. Only in Scotland could you have unrest among the support with Celtic out in front, and will there be even more unrest if it doesn't go according to plan for Rangers? It's incredible. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. Hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel. From Ruffy, from Ali, from Tammy McManus and myself, Peter Martin. Thank you for listening and watching.